Hello, everybody. This is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Part 3, Chapter 28. Levin spent the evening with the ladies and found it unendurably stupid. His mind was stirred as never before at the thought of the disgust that he felt in the administration of his estate. It seemed to him not exclusively his own affair, but a public trust which concerned Russia, and that an organization of labor in such a manner as he saw at the mushiks on the highway was not an illusion, but a problem to be solved. And it seemed to him that he could settle the problem and that he must attempt to do it. Levin bade the ladies good night, promising to give them the next morning for a horseback ride to see some interesting slides in the Crown Woods. Before going to bed, he went to the library to get some of the books on the labor question which Sviazhsky had recommended. Sviazhsky's library was an enormous room, all lined with bookshelves, and having two tables, one with a massive writing table standing in the center of the room, and the other round and laden with recent numbers of journals and reviews in various languages arranged about the lamp. Near the writing table was a cabinet holding drawers with gilt lettering for the reception of all sorts of papers. Sviazhsky got the volumes and sat down in a rocking chair. "What is that you're looking at?" he asked of Levin, who was standing by the round table and turning the leaves of a review. Levin held up the review. "Oh, yes, there's a very interesting article there. It appears," he added with gay animation, "that the principal culprit in the partition of Poland was not Frederick after all. It appears," and he gave with that clearness which was characteristic of him a digest of these new and important discoveries. Levin, who was now more interested in the labor question than in anything, listened to his friend and asked himself, what is he in reality, and why does the partition of Poland interest him? When Sviazhsky was through, Levin could not help saying, "No, and what of it?" And there was nothing to say. It was interesting simply from the fact that it appeared. But Sviazhsky did not explain, and did not care to explain why it was interesting to him. "Da, but the irascible old proprietor interested me very much," said Levin, sighing. "He's sensible, and a good deal of what he says is true. Ach, don't speak of it. He's a confirmed slaveholder at heart, like all the rest of them, with you at their head." "Yes, only I am trying to lead them in the other direction," replied Sviazhsky, laughing. "His argument struck me very forcibly," said Levin. "He's right when he says that our affairs, that the rational management cannot succeed, that the only kind that can succeed is the money-lending kind of the other proprietor, or, in other words, the most simple. Who's to blame for it? Well, we ourselves, of course. Da, even when it's not true that it does not succeed, it succeeds with Vasilchikov. The mill? But what is there surprising about it? The peasantry stands on such a low plane of development, both materially and morally, that it's evident that they must oppose all that's strange to them. In Europe, the rational management succeeds because the people are civilized. In the first place, we must civilize our peasantry. That's the point. But how will you civilize them? To civilize the people, 3 things are necessary: schools, schools, and schools. But you yourself say that the peasantry stand on a low plane of material development. What good will schools do in that respect? Do you know, you remind me of a story of the advice given a sick man. You'd better try a purgative. He tries it and grows worse. Oh, apply leeches. He tries it and grows worse. No, pray to God. He tries it and grows worse. So it is with you. I say political economy, you say you're worse for it. I suggest socialism, worse still. Education, still worse. Da, but what can schools do? Well, they create other necessities. But this is just the very thing I could never understand, replied Levin vehemently. In what way will schools help the peasantry to better their material condition? You say that schools, education, will create new needs. So much the worse, because they will not have the ability to satisfy them, and I could never see how a knowledge of addition and subtraction in the catechism could help them to better themselves materially. Day before yesterday I met a baba with a baby at the breast, and I asked her where she had been. She said, "To the babkas." The child was distressed, and I took him to be cured. How did the babka cure the child? She sat him on the hen roost and muttered something. "No, what?" cried Sviazhsky, laughing heartily. "You yourself confess it. In order to teach them that they can't cure children by setting them on hen roosts, you must—" "Ach, no!" interrupted Levin with some vexation. "Your remedy of schools for the people I compared to the babka's method of curing. The peasantry are wretched and uncivilized. This we see as plainly as the baba saw her child's distress because he was crying. But the schools can raise them from their wretchedness as inconceivable as the hen roost cure for sick children. You must first remedy the cause of the misery." No, in this, at least, you agree with Spencer, whom you do not like. He says that civilization can result from increased happiness and comfort in life, from frequent ablutions, but not by learning to read and cipher. No, what? I'm very glad, or rather very sorry, if I'm in accord with Spencer, but I have felt for a long time it can't be done by schools, only by economical organization, in which the peasantry will be richer, will have more leisure than schools will come. Nevertheless, schools are obligatory now all over Europe. But how would you harmonize this with Spencer's ideas? Asked Levin. But into Sviazhsky's eyes again came the troubled expression, and he said with a smile, "No, the story of Baba was capital. Is it possible that you heard it yourself?" Levin saw that there was no connection between this man's life and his thoughts. Evidently it was of very little consequence to him where his conclusions led him. Only the process of reasoning was what appealed to him, and it was unpleasant when this process of reasoning led him into some stupid, blind alley. All the impressions of the day, beginning with the mushik on the highway, which seemed somehow to give a new basis to his thoughts, filled Levin's mind with commotion. Sviazhsky, in his inconsequential thoughts, the testy old proprietor, perfectly right in his judicious views of life, but wrong in despising one entire class in Russia, and perhaps the best, his own relations to his work, and the confused hope of setting things right at last. All this caused him a sensation of trouble and alarmed expectation. Going to his room, lying under the feather bed which exposed his arms and legs every time he moved, Levin could not get to sleep. His conversation with Sviazhsky, though many good things were said, did not interest him, but the old proprietor's arguments persuaded him. Levin involuntarily remembered every word that he said, and his imagination supplied the answer. Yes, I ought to have said to him, "You say that our management's not succeeding because the mushik despises all improvements, and that force must be applied to them. But if our estates were not retrograding, even where their improvements are not found, you would be right, but they advance only where the work is carried on in consonance with the customs of the laborers, as at the house of the starik on the highway. Our failure to carry on our estates profitably results either from our fault or that of the laborers." And thus he carried on a train of thought which led him to an examination of what plan would best suit both the laborer and its proprietor. The thought of cooperation came over him with all its force. Half the night he did not sleep, thinking of his new plans and schemes. He had not intended to leave so soon, but now he decided to go home on the morrow. Moreover, the memory of the young lady with the open dress came over him with a strange shame and disgust. But the main thing that decided him was his desire to establish his new project before the autumn harvest, so that the mushiks might reap under the new conditions. He decided entirely to reform his method of administration.